Doug signed a prenup. He knows he'll never have a position of leadership here.
What if one of the biggest Christian television empires in America was hiding a family war behind the scenes? A war involving secret recordings, millions of dollars in property, leadership battles, a controversial marriage, and a son who says he never even got the chance to say goodbye to his dying mother. This isn't internet gossip. This story comes from leaked audio, investigative reports, court records, public documents, and statements made by the people involved themselves. And now, after the death of Joni Lamb in May 2026, people are asking one huge question. Was the public told the full truth? Because what was promised privately and what actually happened publicly don't seem to match. And honestly, the deeper you go into this story, the darker it gets. Back in July 2023, just weeks after Joni Lamb married psychologist Doug Weiss, a private family meeting took place. That meeting would later become one of the most controversial recordings in Christian media history. According to investigative reports, Joni tried reassuring her son, Jonathan Lamb, that Doug Weiss was not trying to take control of Daystar. She allegedly told him, Doug signed a prenup. He would never hold leadership at Daystar. He had no intention of running the ministry. At the time, maybe that sounded believable. But over the next 3 years, the public record started painting a very different picture. And that's where the controversy exploded.
To understand why this situation became so emotional, you gotta understand who this family was. The Lamb family wasn't just a normal family. They were Christian broadcasting royalty. Daystar Television Network became one of the largest Christian television networks in the world. After the death of founder Marcus Lamb in 2021, many people believed Jonathan Lamb would eventually become the future president of Daystar. Now, here's where things get really uncomfortable. Investigative reporting later revealed that Joni and Doug purchased a luxury beachfront condo in Florida worth nearly $3 million. And according to public property records, both of their names were on the deed. That immediately raised eyebrows, because Joni had reportedly told Jonathan that Doug wouldn't have financial involvement in her estate. Then more reports surfaced. Investigators claimed Joni owned multiple luxury properties across several states, worth an estimated multi-million-dollar portfolio. Critics began asking, where exactly was all this money coming from? Now, to be clear, owning property itself is not illegal. But because Daystar operates under a religious structure that doesn't publicly disclose the same financial information many nonprofits do, critics argued there wasn't enough transparency. And then, another controversy hit. Reports claimed luxury honeymoon expenses connected to Joni and Doug were initially charged to ministry accounts, before later being reimbursed. Supporters said reimbursement happened. Critics said the charges should have never touched ministry accounts in the first place. And suddenly, this wasn't just family drama anymore. People started questioning the entire system behind the ministry. There were even reported succession plans supporting that idea. But everything changed after Joni married Doug Weiss. The relationship between Joni and Jonathan reportedly started collapsing fast. And then came the leaked recordings. Recordings where Jonathan and his wife Susie allegedly expressed fears that Doug was becoming too involved inside the ministry. Meanwhile, according to reports, Joni defended Doug completely. What started as family tension slowly turned into a public scandal.
Remember the original promise? Doug won't be involved in Daystar leadership. Well, publicly, Doug Weiss started appearing everywhere. He hosted his own Daystar show, he co-hosted major programs alongside Joni, and during Joni's health struggles before her death, Doug became the main public spokesperson updating viewers on her condition. Now, technically, hosting TV programs isn't the same as officially running a network. That's true. But critics argued that Doug clearly became one of the most visible and influential faces connected to Daystar, which made people revisit those original promises from 2023. Because even if he wasn't officially president, he was absolutely becoming part of the public identity of the network. And people noticed. Now, this part is important because it added even more fuel to the fire online. Doug Weiss was already a well-known Christian counselor before marrying Joni Lamb. He built a career around marriage counseling and sexual addiction therapy. But his past also carried controversy. Public records show he divorced his wife after more than 30 years of marriage, shortly after Marcus Lamb's death. That timing alone triggered intense discussion online. Then, investigative reports included allegations from former counseling clients who claimed they felt emotionally harmed or manipulated during intensive therapy sessions. Now, listen carefully. These were allegations, not criminal convictions. That distinction matters. But multiple reports also pointed to past disciplinary actions involving licensing boards in Colorado tied to professional conduct concerns years earlier. Again, supporters defended Doug heavily. Critics said the pattern raised serious questions. And because he was now connected to one of the most powerful Christian television ministries in America, every old controversy suddenly came back into the spotlight.
Another major figure in this story is Jimmy Evans. For decades, Jimmy Evans was deeply connected to the Lamb family and Daystar. He officiated weddings, appeared on broadcasts, and reportedly played a major role in counseling conversations during this family conflict. But after the leaked audio surfaced, many viewers became disturbed by language used during those meetings, especially comments suggesting Jonathan's objections were spiritually wrong or rebellious. Critics argued that spiritual authority was being used to pressure family members into silence. Supporters said people were taking comments out of context. But either way, the backlash became massive. And over time, the entire situation started damaging trust inside sections of the Christian community, not just toward individuals, but toward Christian celebrity culture itself. By late 2024, things reportedly got even uglier behind the scenes. Jonathan Lamb was reportedly removed from leadership positions. His salary was allegedly reduced. He was reportedly presented with legal agreements he refused to sign. Then came reports involving surveillance accusations, investigators, internal conflict, and complete family separation. And at the center of all of it was a mother and son no longer speaking. That's the part of this story that hits people emotionally. Because beyond the investigations, beyond the money, beyond the leadership drama, this became a story about a broken family. A family that never reconciled before death changed everything.
On May 7th, 2026, Joni Lamb died at age 65. Daystar announced that ongoing health issues and spinal fractures had contributed to her condition. The network confirmed leadership plans were already in place. But almost immediately, new questions exploded online. Who would control Daystar now? Would Doug Weiss stay involved? Would Jonathan ever return? Would the network finally become more transparent? And then came one of the most heartbreaking details of all. According to public statements made by Jonathan's wife, Susie, Jonathan was never called to his mother's bedside before she passed away. Imagine that for a second. A son reportedly finding out about his mother's death through a network attorney instead of direct family contact. That detail alone shook a lot of people emotionally, even people who had no connection to Daystar. Because underneath all the headlines, there's still a human tragedy here. At this point, the biggest question isn't just about Doug Weiss, or Joni Lamb, or Daystar leadership. The real question is this: what happens when powerful religious institutions stop being transparent? Because millions of viewers supported this ministry for decades, with trust, prayers, loyalty, and donations. And now many of those same people feel confused, divided, or betrayed. Some still strongly defend Daystar. Others believe serious accountability is overdue. But one thing almost everyone agrees on is this: the story isn't fully over yet. Leadership questions remain unanswered. Family wounds remain unresolved. And the future of Daystar is still uncertain. But maybe the saddest part of all is that reconciliation never came in time. And that's the kind of ending nobody really wins from. What do you think? Did Daystar handle this situation the right way? Should ministries be required to have more financial transparency? And do you believe this family conflict could have been prevented? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown informative, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. And remember, sometimes the biggest battles aren't the ones happening on camera. They're the ones happening behind closed doors. Until next time, take care.